Wait, is it done? I don't know. Is it looping? I can't tell. I saw it go black, and then I saw, I don't know. Anyways, so that was some raw footage for a cornet film called We Explore Mountains, and we know it's raw footage because there is a slate at the beginning, and the slate can tell us lots of things. It can tell us who shot it. It can tell us when, what year it was made. The slate, generally, when you do the clap, that is what you can use for sound sync. Sound is usually recorded separately on magnetic tape, and then you have a clap, and then you can, in editing, you can sync it, and that's what later more sophisticated slates have, like a little button that go beep 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 that actually allow you to you get three tones, and then you can get more better, more better. You can get more sync, better sync. Whew. It's cold here today. I don't know if you're experiencing that where you are, but we had something that was close to the 20s this morning. Let's watch some yarn and cloth construction. This is a fascinating film. I have both a black and white and a color version of this. The color version is stunningly beautiful, Kodachrome. Let's learn about yarn, etc. Enjoy.
Like so many of us, Betty Randall wants to do a little redecorating to brighten up her bedroom. Right now, the problem is a worn-out slipper's professional advice. So she has come to her friend Marion, who actually designs and weaves exclusive fabrics for folks in the town who want something special. Marion had promised to show Betty some materials to choose from, to teach her about different yarns and how they are woven into cloth. But suddenly, she had an idea. Maybe Betty would like to see a real spinning wheel in action. Marion says a bare foot gives a more sensitive touch to run a spinning wheel. Raw wool fibers, which have been carded or combed to separate them and make them straight, are twisted or spun into yarn. Longer fibers of wool can be twisted very tightly, making a hard, durable yarn. You've probably heard of worsted, sometimes called worsted. Woolen yarns, spun from the shorter fibers and twisted less, have many little ends sticking up. The smooth twist of worsted, magnified 20 times, is a contrast to woolen yarn. The softer woolen yarn is not very strong, but the hard twisted worsted is, and stands up well under hard wear, in suits and topcoats. The smooth, hard finish of Marion's gabardine suit is a result of worsted yarns, while Betty's soft, woolly, warm skirt is made from woolen yarns. For materials requiring great strength, like sailcloth or awning canvas, 2 or more strands are twisted together, like a little rope. Here's a thread from a sample of cotton duck. 1 strong strand twisted from 4 separate plies. Sometimes multiple ply yarns are made for purely decorative purposes. This boucle is made by twisting together 2 or more different strands or yarns. But little loops are formed because the plies were twisted together at different tensions. It's pretty and unusual, but the loose, loopy yarn won't be very durable. Novelty yarns seldom give as good wear as evenly spun yarns. Here is a yarn that Marion has been spinning. This one is rather loosely spun, you can see the number and direction of the twists. But here's another yarn Marion made. What is the difference? It's all in the twist. This is an S-twist yarn, and this is a Z-twist yarn. Why do you think that is important? Weaving materials of alternate S and Z-twist yarns puts the two different kinks of the twists in opposite directions, and the material has a permanent crinkle. Unless you want a crinkle crepe effect, be sure all the yarn in your knitting has the same twist. Betty has learned how the yarn affects the appearance and strength of the material. But what about the weaving of the yarns? For one thing, the way the filling yarns are woven between the warp yarns has a lot to do with strength as well as appearance. Just what is the warp, and what is filling yarn? The threads, or yarns which run between the warp beam and the cloth beam, are called the warp. The finished cloth is rolled up on the cloth beam as it is made, so of course the warp will run the entire length of the finished cloth. These threads, which run under and over the warp threads, are called the filling yarns. You can see why, can't you? The filling always goes across the material, from selvage to selvage. Marion showed Betty a type of weaving process known as plain weave, the simplest of the three basic weave patterns. The filling thread runs over one warp and under the next. Marion does this the slow way to demonstrate it clearly. On the next row, or pick, the over and under procedure is alternated, going over the warp thread that the other strand went under. Marion pulled the demonstration thread free and showed Betty the bobbin of yarn in a shuttle as it is used in regular weaving. A simple harness arrangement is provided to lift the odd-numbered warp threads so the shuttle can be thrown through the shed. There, in one motion, is one complete pick, which can be quickly battened or pressed down firmly in place on the yarn below. Now the harness lifts out the even-numbered warp threads into a shed, and the weaving goes on. Big power-driven industrial looms work on this age-old principle. Plain weaving is simple, easily manufactured, inexpensive, and useful for many kinds of cloth, for many purposes. All other weave patterns are simply minor variations of what you have learned here. The second basic type of weaving, twill weave, is familiar to us in gabardines, serge, blue jeans, and all materials which show the characteristic diagonal rib in the weave. Here's the twill weave in wool gabardine. And it's easy to make a simple device which shows clearly how the twill weave is made. The filling goes over one warp thread, then under two warps, over one, under two, and so on. And the next row starts the process one warp thread advanced, over one, under two, and so on. The result is a diagonal line formed by the advancing filling yarns as they go over the single warp. Simple? Twill weave makes a very firm, durable fabric. Now, let's look at a model of the last basic weave, satin. The filling thread goes over from 4 to 7 warp yarns and under only one. And unlike twill weave, the next pick advances more than one warp. This breaks up the diagonal line the twill weave makes. This long, unwoven strand of yarn, called a float, is responsible for the luster characteristic of all satin weaves. Now Betty understands why satin is smooth and looks so shiny. The natural gloss of rayon or silk fibers gets a chance to reflect a lot of light. But the long, unsupported floats snag easily and are apt to fray or get fuzzy. Besides the three basic weaves, there are many complicated weave patterns, such as this jacquard weave. Pattern in cloth is important. But for strength, there is an even more important factor. This is cloth count. 140 count means a total of 140 threads, warp and filling, to each square inch. In this tiny sample, less than 1/8 of an inch wide, Betty can see the excellent balance. That is the almost equal number of warp and filling threads. This muslin sheeting has 74 warp threads and 66 filling threads to the inch. Balance is even more important in low-count cloth, such as this theatrical gauze, 28 warp to 24 filling, a total count of 52. Notice this sample, 1/3 of an inch wide. When the cloth count is too low, this can happen. Betty has learned a great deal about yarns and the weaving cloth. While it's all fresh in her mind, she wants to choose the material for her chair. Remember, a chair gets a lot of use. Some people even put their feet on chairs. That novelty weave won't do. The little loops would be pulled and snagged too easily. This coarse homespun looks wonderful, but the count is low, and it would pull out of shape. Besides, it's too woolly and scratchy. The jacquard is beautiful, but too expensive. How about this? Smooth, firmly woven twill. That's a well-balanced, high-count weave. This is it. Why, it's the very one Marion had ready to recommend. That's the fun of knowing. You learn what to look for in buying all kinds of cloth. And you use this knowledge all your life.
Yeah. All right. Maybe you didn't really want to know more about that, but it was fascinating nonetheless. I should say, I was talking about it being cold. We have one of our commenters, Taryn Tots, who is basically homeless because of a fire at her family home. And I asked her to post her GoFundMe as a way to kind of help with getting warm clothes and hopefully finding some sort of new place to be, etc. So Taryn, please post that link for GoFundMe, and hopefully we can kick in. If you can contribute, that'd be great. If you can't, that's fine. But just know that we like to support our commenters if we can, who are going through some rough times. All right, I got a film set up on the scanner behind me. Yeah, this is called Kindergarten. What is it? Kindergarten Twigs from a City Tree. Kind of an interesting thing. And I need to change the title for this. So I'll do that while we watch. Enjoy.
You what? Well, you better run downstairs and get it, sweetheart. No, Toya, no. Is that her milk? Well, in Chicago, if you want your kids to get milk, you send them to school with 4 cents a day or 20 cents a week, and they'll get milk every day. If the parents don't have the money, then the kids don't get the milk, and they'll sit around and watch while everyone else drinks. But we're lucky in this school. We've got a private fund, and it's let us set up a free milk program, and every kid in the school gets free milk the first thing in the morning. And we get chocolate milk too, which is great, because if we had to get the milk from the Chicago board, we'd probably get white milk. And the kids don't really dig white milk. Chocolate milk is where it's at. And it's a great thing. We all do it together in the morning. We sit down and we all open up our milk. And we get on the circle and chug our milk and we rap for a while. And it was really bad when they didn't have the program. How many kids had the money? 20 cents a week when there are 8, 9 kids in a family. I mean, maybe 9 out of 37 kids would really bring the money to school. And it was really bad. I mean, how could 9 kids drink milk the first thing in the morning or the middle of the morning and the rest of the kids sit around watching? I was paying for it myself until the milk fund got started. And I don't even know how long the milk fund is going to last because, well, the money can't hold out forever. And I don't know how long people are going to want to shell out money for a private fund. Maybe for a long time. It should go on forever. It's probably the best thing the school's doing in the community. can't hear you.
Boy,
Why is he crying?
because he don't want to go to school with the teachers. Because he's sleepy.
Why, Kimberly?
The teacher ain't mad at him.
The teacher's not mad at him?
No.
Then why is he crying?
Because he got up this morning. And can't school today. And he's still sleepy, and he don't want to go to school. Because his teeth is yellow.
Because what?
Because his teeth are yellow.
Because his teeth are yellow.
Because his friends don't like him.
Why don't they like him?
Because he hit them.
Why did he hit them?
I don't know. I mean, he hit them because
You know, you hear Bill Cosby talk about growing up in the ghetto, and you think it's an experience no one should miss. And for a lot of kids, it's true. Growing up in Lawndale on the west side of Chicago could be a really great experience. There's a lot going on here, and it's all happening out front. There's a lot to be learned in the streets, and for the kids who can cope with it, understand it, and live with it, it can be a very creative experience. But for a lot of kids, it's just too much. It's so chaotic. There's so many doors slamming and people pouring in and out. There's so much screaming out of windows that a lot of kids can't handle it. There are 5- and 6-year-old kids in my class who won't talk. They can't seem to relate to anything. They just stare ahead all day with blank eyes, and some of them have the face of a man 40 or 50 years old. They look as if they've seen the whole world and they can't talk. And these are the kids I really worry about. Motherless children have a hard time when their mother is dead. Well, motherless children have a hard time when their mother is dead. They haven't got any place to go. They're wandering around from door to door. Motherless children have a hard time when their mother is dead. Well, some people say your sister will do when your mother is dead. Well, some people say your sister will do when your mother is dead. Some people say your sister will do soon as she's married, turn her back on you. Motherless children have a hard time when your mother is dead. My grave with a bloody spade when I'm dead. Well, dig my grave with a bloody spade when I'm dead. Dig my grave with a bloody spade, but please make sure that the digger gets paid. Motherless children have a hard time when your mother is dead.
Now.
You see?
Hey, you! Hey, you! Stop it! Oh, police! This is Malcolm Ware, reporting Felicia is bad. Do not hear her no more. Now, baby. Wait, I heard that guy there.
Bobby, I didn't ask if Bobby Griggs had a dream. I asked if Kimberly Gooden had a dream. Did you have a dream too, Bobby? Okay, you can tell it to us later, okay? Well, listen to all of us who had dreams. I want to hear Kimberly's now. Because Kimberly always has funny dreams. Go on. Huh?
Can I go after Kimberly?
Maybe.
Me too.
Well, you can't, but I'll go right after Kimberly.
I'm going to go after you.
All right, Kimberly, can you speak in a nice, loud voice and tell us about your dream?
I was asleep in the bed, and the phone rang, and I told my mother to answer, and she said she would answer, so I answered it, and they said there was a Wahoo man, and I hung up on them, and they said they was gonna come and get me and eat me up, and then they were gone. He came and get me. 3 Wahoo mans came and got me, and they ate me for dessert. We were trying to get out, and they drove.
Look at the class.
And they put some of their spitting on her, and she said, "Woo! I feel some water. They must be drinking a lot of water tonight." And then they said, and then I was hiding under the bed, and they don't say and that was the Booger Man's house. And the Booger Man had moved, and then and a lot of boogers was in there, and I was under the bed on some booger, and then they looked under the bed and saw me, and I said, "Ooh, they're gonna eat me up now." And they made some scalding water and put me in it and drinked me.
I'm concerned that will get us in trouble. I'm not sure. Obviously, in the comments, a lot of people were like, "What was that?" And some people were like, "That was awesome." So I don't have teacher's notes, but I do have a description that's written on the film. And it basically says, the summary is, black children in a Chicago kindergarten and their white teacher, a gentle, sympathetic young man, share their day with us. As the camera captures them drawing, singing, dancing, playing, and talking about their dreams, we get a glimpse of what life is like growing up in a ghetto. Grade level, high school, college. Subject area, teacher education, and social studies. Wow. So, fascinating film. Like, Cornette, dipped into this more in the 70s, these interesting social films. But this was one that's really, it's not made for kids. It's made for adults or young adults. And really fascinating. Some aspects of it feel dated, but there is really some of this. What I like is when they capture the joy of children playing, singing, goofing off, fighting, speaking into a microphone. We'd run into that a lot when we were digitizing audio for clients. Kids basically grab a microphone, and then what we say is they eat the microphone. They basically do it. Wow, that was awesome. All right. Let's learn about some simple plumbing repairs. Just totally shift gears here. Courtesy of Centron. Enjoy.
Not all plumbing problems require the services of a plumber. There are several simple repairs that you can make yourself once you know what to do. To make simple plumbing repairs, you'll need a few basic tools: a plunger, a can of solvent lubricant, an adjustable wrench, slip joint or channel type pliers, flat and Phillips screwdrivers, heat-proof grease, electrician's tape, a drain auger with an adjustable handle, and a closet auger. Armed with these tools, you'll be ready to do battle with a host of minor plumbing problems. Let's start with that well-known nuisance, the clogged drain. A clog is usually nothing more than an accumulation of grease, soap residue, or hair trapped in the pipe below the sink. To work on a clogged drain, it's necessary first to remove the drain stopper. On some bathroom basins, the stopper is attached to its handle by a brass rod. The rod is secured to a metal strap with holes in it by means of a metal spring clip. To disconnect the rod from the metal strap, squeeze the spring clip in the jaws of your pliers. This releases the tension on the rod, and the exposed end of the rod will slip out easily. Holding a bucket under the drain, unscrew the fitting at the opposite end of the rod and remove it from the drain pipe. This will free the stopper. Some basins have stoppers that come out with a simple turning and lifting action. When the stopper is removed, replace the nut and brass rod to reseal the opening. Now you can go to work on the clog with a plunger. Before you use a plunger, sometimes called a plumber's friend, rub a thick layer of petroleum jelly around the rim. This will help the plunger produce a tighter seal and better suction. If the basin has an overflow outlet, plug it with a damp rag as you use the plunger. This will increase the suction you can exert on the clog. After running an inch or two of water into the basin, place the plunger over the drain and pump it up and down forcefully to build up suction. Keep at it, even if you don't see any results right away. When you see even a little drainage, consider yourself victorious, because this usually indicates that you can use a chemical drain cleaner to finish the job. Be very careful when using any kind of drain cleaner. Both liquid and powder drain cleaners contain caustic chemicals and can be very dangerous if not properly handled. Always read and follow directions on the container. Also, be sure to store drain cleaner out of the reach of children. Give the cleaner plenty of time to work, and then flush it away. If the clog has been dissolved, the water will drain rapidly from the basin. If neither the plunger nor the drain cleaner has corrected the problem, you'll have to remove the trap under the basin. First, put a bucket under the trap to catch the water inside. To avoid marring the chrome finish, wrap the slip joints with electrician's tape. Then use channel-type pliers or an adjustable wrench to loosen the slip joint nuts so you can remove the trap. With the trap removed, you can go to work on the clog with a drain auger, also known as a snake. An auger is an inexpensive tool that resembles a steel cable. On one end, there is a coil of wire to catch or break up obstructions. Use a cranking motion of the handle to feed the auger into the pipe. When you've worked the auger in as far as the handle, loosen the set screw and slide the handle back a few inches along the auger and away from the pipe. After tightening the set screw, continue to work the auger into the pipe a little at a time until you catch or break through the clog. Next, use the drain auger or a piece of wire to clean out the trap. Before putting the trap back, replace the slip joint washers to assure a watertight seal. These washers are available at hardware stores. Simply slip the new washer over the lip of the pipe. If your toilet drain becomes clogged, first try to break up and remove the obstruction with your plumber's friend. If that doesn't work, try to remove the blockage with your closet auger. This is a tool specially designed for use with toilets. When you're finished with the auger, dry it off and then wipe it with an oily rag to protect it from rust during storage. Like clogged drains, leaky faucets are another irritating plumbing problem which you can easily correct. But before you start repairs, you must first turn off the water supply to the fixture. Underneath most sinks and lavatories, you'll find individual shut-off valves on the hot and cold water pipes. To close a valve, turn its handle clockwise as far as it will go. If your home doesn't have individual valves, you can turn off the water to the entire plumbing system at the main shut-off valve. A word of caution. If you turn off the main water shut-off valve for your entire home, it's an important safety precaution to turn your water heater dial to the pilot position until you turn the main water valve back on. Once the water is turned off, turn on the leaky faucet until all the water is drained out of the line. Inside most faucets, there is a stem which acts as a plug to control the flow of water. When you turn on the water, the stem unplugs the pipe and allows water to run from the faucet. When the faucet is turned off, a small rubber washer at the base of the stem plugs the pipe and stops the flow of water. When this washer has worn to the point where it can no longer provide a watertight seal, the faucet will drip constantly. Before starting work on a leaky faucet, it's a good idea to put a towel in the basin to protect the porcelain from chipping if you accidentally drop a tool. The next step is to remove the faucet handle. The screw holding the handle in place may be hidden under a cap that unscrews or snaps out. After removing the faucet cap, take out the handle screw. Then lift off the handle. If it sticks, use gentle leverage to pry it off. If the handle still won't budge, apply a few drops of a solvent lubricating product. Wait a few minutes to let the solvent work. The handle should now come off easily. If the faucet has a decorative escutcheon, remove it. Once again, protect the finish by wrapping the escutcheon or the jaws of the wrench with tape. When the escutcheon is removed, the bonnet is exposed. Turn the bonnet counterclockwise until it's loose. Then, pull the entire stem and washer assembly from its fitting. Here's a different kind. The faucet seat is attached to the stem. You will need to unscrew it. Next, remove the screw that holds the washer in place and remove the washer. A worn-out washer will be noticeably scarred and misshapen. Pick out a new washer that's the same size and general shape as the old one. You can buy an inexpensive assortment package of faucet washers at a hardware store or supermarket. If the replacement washer is rounded on one side, put it on the stem with the rounded side out. If the old screw is worn or damaged from repeated washer changes, replace it with a new one. Usually, several replacement screws come with a package of washers. It's a good idea to lubricate the threads with heat-proof grease before tightening it in the stem. Next, you lubricate the faucet seat and reassemble it onto the stem and grease the stem before replacing it. Greasing all metal-to-metal fittings now can save you a lot of trouble and aggravation the next time you take the assembly apart. Now you tighten the bonnet, replace the escutcheon, and handle screw, and finally put the screw cap back in place. After you've turned on the water supply at the shutoff valve, you can check your work. No leaks or drips. But don't forget to turn up the heat controls on your water heater when the job is done. Some faucets don't have washers. They're even easier to fix. When you have a leak or drip in a washerless faucet, simply replace this core and reassemble it in the same manner as the traditional faucet. Repairing a faucet that leaks around the handle is another simple job. This type of leak usually indicates worn packing. Packing is string-like material which is wrapped around the stem to produce a watertight seal inside the packing nut. To replace worn packing, first disassemble the faucet as you would to replace a worn washer. Remember to turn off the water, drain the line, and turn down the water heater before you start. Next, use a screwdriver or a nail to dig out the old packing. Then, wind enough new packing around the stem to fill the inside of the packing nut. You can buy new packing at most hardware stores. Again, remember to lubricate all the metal fittings before you put the faucet back together. As you tighten down the packing nut, the new packing will be compressed and make a watertight seal around the stem. Avoid over-tightening the packing nut, because this will make the faucet hard to open and close and will cause the packing to wear out faster. Instead of packing, some faucets have rubber seals around the stem called O-rings to prevent leakage around the handle. Worn O-rings are easier to replace than packing. Just slip them off the stem, lubricate new O-rings of the same size, and slide the new ones into place. Leaky bathtub and shower faucets with washers are repaired in the same way as sink and lavatory faucets. If the connection is recessed in the wall, you'll need to use a deep throat socket wrench to remove the stem. Once the stem is removed, the repair procedures will be the same as for sink and lavatory faucets. Now, here's another common plumbing problem which you can solve: a malfunctioning toilet tank. Whenever a problem develops, first remove the cover and take a look inside. You'll probably see a mechanism that looks something like this. Its operation is really quite simple. When the toilet is flushed, the trip lever lifts the tank ball, allowing the water to flow out of the tank and into the bowl. When the tank is almost empty, the tank ball falls back into place, sealing the outlet. Meanwhile, the float falls with the water level and opens the water inlet valve just as the tank outlet is sealed. With the inlet valve open, water flows through the filler tube into the tank. Water also flows into the bowl through the refill tube. When the water level approaches the top of the overflow pipe, the float closes the inlet valve. The toilet is now ready to be flushed again. If water continues to run after the tank is full, you may need to make some minor repairs. If the metal parts are heavily corroded with thick, white deposits, it may be that the linkages are binding because of a calcium buildup from the water. Often, a liberal application of a solvent lubricant will free the linkages to work properly. If the mechanical parts of the toilet are worn out, you may want to install one of the modern water conservation tanks. They fit almost any toilet, come with simple installation directions, and help you save water and money. Be sure to specify the anti-siphon model. If your toilet mechanism is not corroded or worn out, but water continues to run after the tank is filled with water, pull upward on the float rod. If the water stops running, all you have to do to correct the problem is adjust the position of the float. Simply bend the float rod until the float is about a half-inch lower. If this doesn't take care of it, the problem could be worn washers in the water inlet valve. Before proceeding, though, turn off the water supply by closing the shut-off valve beneath the tank, or by closing the main valve. Then, flush the toilet to empty the tank. To replace the inlet valve washers, take out the screws that hold the float rod linkage. You may need to use pliers to loosen them. With the screws removed, you can pull the plunger from the valve. You'll find a solid, flat washer at the base of the plunger. If it shows signs of wear, take it out and replace it with a new one of the same type and size. Usually, there is another washer that fits in a groove cut in the side of the plunger. If necessary, replace this washer also. Plungers may differ, so get the type of washer made for your kind. A leaky float can also cause water to keep running into the tank. To inspect the float, simply unscrew it from the float rod. If there's water inside, the float should be replaced. If water runs into the tank after a flush, but the tank doesn't refill, check to be sure the tank ball is centered in the outlet. If it's not, loosen the set screw on the guide and position the guide so that it will allow the tank ball to drop directly into the outlet. Sometimes a tank doesn't refill because the lift wires get in a bind and prevent the tank ball from falling back into the outlet after a flush. You can often correct this problem by bending the lift wires until they work smoothly. In some cases, a worn-out tank ball is the culprit. To remove it, hold it in one hand and unscrew the lift wire. If the wire is stuck, hold the top loop with a pair of pliers as you turn the ball. Before you attach the new tank ball, scrape off any mineral scale deposits with steel wool or fine sandpaper. Such deposits can sometimes cause leakage around the tank ball. When your tank ball wears out, you might consider replacing it with a stopper ball or rubber flapper device. To install a rubber flapper in place of a tank ball, first remove the lift wires. Then loosen the guide arm and slide it up and off the overflow pipe. Slide the rubber flapper over the pipe and push it all the way to the bottom. Finally, adjust the lift chain to proper length and connect it to the trip lever. When you're finished with all repairs, remember to turn on the water. Next time a minor household plumbing failure occurs, you may want to use the tools and procedures you've seen in this film to make your own simple plumbing repairs.
Cool jazz as you work on your toilet. I've always thought that should be required in high school, is everybody learns how to unclog a toilet, how to fix a toilet. Because there's been so many times that I and housemates and people at parties, it's a catastrophe with toilets, like not understanding how they work. So that's my PSA, my soapbox. Thanks for tuning in today. Very much appreciate your eyeballs. As a reminder, Taryn is our friend, and she's basically homeless, living in a camper because of a fire. And so there's a way to donate to her cause via GoFundMe. It's in the comments. But yeah, let's help our friend out. And obviously I'm distracted right now. I don't know why. But thanks again. Thumbs up. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Those are ways you can support us. If not financially, just support us. Or watch other films that we have on our YouTube channel. Those are great ways to help us pay our bills. See everybody tomorrow, where I will have more coffee and I'll be a little bit more focused. Take care.